Hello. I feel like I'm always saying hello and there's like no one there yet. But anxiety is real, so hello. Hi Veronica. Hi Glacian. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi Kate. Hi John. Hi Zach. Hi Dave. So I'm full force preparing for my trip with my dog to Ukraine. And I like ordered her food because I'm gonna have to like switch her from this food to another brand of food that's easily like available in Ukraine. Hi Henry. Hi Lauren. Hi Jack. Hi Ryan. So I basically Cindy is doing swell after the cereal incident. Don't you worry. Hi, Jason. I'm like trying to prepare. Hi, Joe. Sorry. So I'm trying to prepare for my trip to Ukraine with my dog, right? And I bought her like her food because I'm gonna have to switch her. And then like yesterday, I was like doom scrolling on TikTok, and I scrolled into a video from this like American girl from New Jersey whose parents bought a chateau in France, and they shipped a 20-foot container of like stuff that they will need. Because like the chateau is not really like super furnished or anything like that. And most of the stuff that they brought in there was like, she was like showing what they got, and it's like paper towels, toilet paper, and it's like deodorant, shower gel, laundry detergent, like these random like household things. And I was like, wow, you spent this much money to bring fucking detergent to France? Like, do you think there is no detergent in France? And I was like so judgmental, right? I was like, this is such a waste of money. And then today, I'm thinking about the things that I need to bring to Ukraine, and I'm like, wow, my brand of deodorant is not available there. So I had just gone on Amazon and ordered myself my deodorant, two of them actually that I'm bringing back with me. Um, and then I then no, hey Henry, see, like, I mean, yes, a 20-foot container is like overdoing it. Привіт, Кирило. A 20-foot container is like overdoing it, and that is a lot of money. But then I caught myself on doing literally the same, but like on a poor person's budget. Like I ordered two of my deodorants because I know that that brand is not in Ukraine, and if like it is, I'm sure I can like order it somewhere, but it's going to be like a hassle, right? It's not one of those like, we have a lot of like good brands of these things. They're just not the same, right? My shampoo brand is not available, but I already brought it last time and left it there. What deodorant is it? It's it's Mega Babe. It's Mega Babe deodorant. It's actually really good. I love their deodorants. Um, but so yeah, so I brought that. So I ordered that. Then like I was talking to my dad, and he likes to try different toothpastes. So he was like, oh, can you bring me some like new toothpaste to try? And I was like, sure thing. So I ordered him like Boca toothpaste because he likes these like flavored toothpaste and like all of these other things to try, sort of. So I brought him that. I ordered him that. Then I realized, so I use this very particular floss from Dr. Tung's because it's like thicker than normal floss. So I fucking ordered the floss too. Like, if you look at my Amazon cart right now, I look like a neurotic crazy person. Like, I'm bringing my dog's food to Ukraine. I'm bringing deodorant. I'm bringing, because last time I went and I thought I was gonna stay for a month, and I ended up staying for 2.5. So I didn't have like the basic things that I use, but I also, like it felt like I was sort of like, guest staying, and now I am staying. Then I also like, so my family, my grandma and my aunt both have like more than one Nespresso machine because they had like an older version, and then got themselves years after um like a newer version. And I already have a ton of Nespresso pods because that's what I use for coffee. So I'm just going to bring the Nespresso pods because those are expensive to order in Ukraine, and they have like very limited varieties of flavor, even though like a lot of people have Nespresso machines. So I'm going to get like an espresso machine from my grandma, and instead of like buying pods there, I'm just going to bring them because every time Anastasia visits me, she buys Nespresso pods here anyway. and I already paid for these, so I might as well like save money and bring them. um, and Hi Diane, hi Michael, and hi Hill, and hi and Dave. How long are you planning on staying in Ukraine? 3 months. So I'm planning on going for 3 months, and yeah, and so I'm just hi Niels. So I'm trying to like bring so I'm trying to bring like the things that I feel like I need. I'm also gonna have all of these dog things because I don't want to like buy a bunch of random stuff that I already have because that's expensive. So I'm like, so I'm just like, and I'm limited to 50 kilogram. Like I'm limited to two luggages, 50 kilograms together, so 25 and 25. I am limited to a carry-on and technically a personal item. It's just that my personal item is going to be a massive backpack because I need to be able to fit all of these like lithium ion batteries that I have in all of these like things I'm bringing for the military. So where are you bringing all of these presents from? I'm bringing them from New York. That's where I lived until I decided to move back home on a semi like I want to try and like spend more time in Ukraine this year. If I could get there, I probably wouldn't come back. Yeah, so that's a worry of mine because I went last time. I was supposed to stay for a month. I ended up staying for 2.5. I just like there are certain reasons within paperwork where I need to stay where I need to come back to the U.S. So I can't really just like move back to Ukraine. Okay, let me address this troll. First thing Ukrainian girls do is flee for money. You guys know, why do you remove these people right immediately? First of all, I will address that because I've lived in the United States for the past 12 years and I'm a taxpayer. And actually, for some idiot to say that, like I don't really need to explain myself to trolls, right? But I do like to put them back down where they came from because this is some sorry dude sitting in Russia that doesn't have a toilet that is probably going to take his cigarette smoke break and shit outside because that's what they do, right? And he has this job because this is the only way that he can make money because intellectually, obviously, he can't. Thank you, Big Al. Also, thank you. Also, because I mean, Russia is in such a fucking shitstorm of heated economy right now that I don't see what other way he has to make money. But provided that they come here and they start like writing these provocative questions, these like provocative questions, like or like things like, oh my gosh, so many Ukrainian girls in the U.S. now. They immigrate for money. Well, you know how many Russian bitches there are here, and they quite actually immigrate here for money. And if you look at like the Russian TikTok side of events, it's like, a man needs to buy me everything. I don't want to work a single day in my life. Meanwhile, Ukrainian women are usually showing their day-to-day lives and what they do for work, because culturally we're a little bit different. And never in my life have I ever depended on a man or on man's money. So yeah, anyone who has that idea can fuck right off. And if you want to hear a difference between how Russian girls are raised versus how Ukrainian girls are raised, I was raised, and many of my friends were raised, to do what we feel like we want to do. And we were told that we can accomplish anything and everything we want. While if you look at Russian culture, the majority of what they teach their women is that they should have as many babies as humanly possible and that they should just listen to their man. Also, domestic violence is literally not punishable by law in Russia unless your husband kills you. Then there is going to be an investigation. But if he beats you, there isn't going to be. And they just decriminalized domestic violence against kids as well, because that is in the hands of parents how to discipline their children. And also, okay, first of all, I understand you're Ukrainian, and there is a person who asked me if I give English lessons, but he also followed it up by baby. And you know what? Like, A person that I am romantically involved with doesn't call me that because I don't like it. And for someone random, no matter whether they're Ukrainian, English, or whatever, to just come on and call a random woman they have never spoken to a baby, you need to have a little bit too much, a little bit too inflated of an ego. I'm not your baby. And please do not call me pet names that I would rather not hear from you. Have some respect. Um, who doesn't immigrate to the US for money? I mean, yeah, kind of like there for opportunities to make money, definitely. But a lot of the times I hear these like stereotypes being put on Ukrainian women that are sort of like, oh my gosh, like women move to the US to like find a rich husband. You know how many times in my 12 years that I've lived in the US, when people would find out that I'm Ukrainian, they'd be like, oh my gosh, did you find your rich husband yet? And I'm like, no, no. I've actually, until I quit my job, hi hydrocarbon, until I quit my job, um, until I quit my job in as a creative director, I actually have always made more money than any partner I've ever had. So and it's not like oh my gosh, like I made more money, but that was because I don't care for, for like I don't care for that type of aspect of, of like of life with someone. It just happens so. Like right now, I definitely make way less than anyone that like I would meet probably because I quit my job to do this and have been doing this. And I am basically like funded by Patreon and like videos and YouTube subscriptions and stuff like that. And it is way not even covering most of my expenses. But aside from that, never have I ever needed to depend on a man, nor have I ever looked for that. So it's quite funny to me that people put that stereotype on Ukrainians because it's just like that's not how most of us are raised. Hi, Gap. Also, hi, Juju. And someone was asking something else. Oh, where in Ukraine am I from? I'm from Lviv. And that's where my parents live, and stuff like that. Well, I wouldn't call myself an influencer. That's not what I'm trying to do. I've been, working on delivering quality news to people every day for the past 2 years, and never have I ever referred to myself as an influencer, nor was I trying to be one. I'm not trying to really influence anyone into. I feel like there is just like a difference. I think that I think for me, an influencer is someone who's like advertising a lot of stuff and is like trying to sell you on stuff, and it's their job. They're basically like they're basically that's what they do. It's a new form of advertisement, right? It's a new form of a marketing job. I'm not really marketing anything. And I don't know, I just call myself an independent reporter because that's what I've been doing, and I've been working with news publications to do it as well. TBH, I'd watch a Yulia makeup tutorial. I haven't worn makeup on a single live in like, I don't even know how long. I literally watched my lives yesterday, and I've realized that I've been like working at home for the past like 6 days without really leaving. Thank you. I haven't I've been working at home, and I haven't really left other than like walk my dog because I've had like a lot to do. And I just watched, like, I was putting thumbnails on my YouTube videos, and I realized that I'm wearing the exact same like clothing this entire time in the past like 5 days. And I was talking to Sky, who's one of my moderators over on TikTok and like a friend at this point, and he was like, oh yeah, I mean, hey, homeless is a look. And I was like, okay, you know what? We're gonna change. We're gonna change this look because we're gonna change this look because homeless is not what I was what I was going for. That one stung. That one stung very much. so so I was like, okay, so today, see, I'm wearing a different shirt. I changed my pants, I washed my hair, and I still don't think I could give anyone I still don't think I could give anyone a makeup tutorial because like I haven't really done my makeup in a very long time, nor do I really have the time or desire to do that right now. I actually realized that when I'm in Ukraine, I put a lot more effort into what I look like than when I'm in the US because I'm just like here working at home, and in Ukraine I'm working both at home and outside because there is quite a bit to do regarding Ukraine outdoors, while here everything I can do for Ukraine is mostly indoors, other than like protests and stuff. But yeah, so that was like my little catch up session for what's been going on today. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. We will move on to the news quite shortly. I will announce a fundraiser that I am planning on starting. Well, so officially, it's going to start on Twitter and everywhere else tomorrow. The link for this fundraiser is ready, and it's going to be a fundraiser for drones for 3rd Separate Assault Brigade, and it's going to be a huge one. I know I said I was probably going to do a smaller fundraiser, and it's going to be like for socks and stuff. But so then I talked to my friends over at 3rd Assault, and they do need drones, and they're actually running a fundraiser themselves for it, but I figured that I would just do like my own separate one, and then just send over all the money to them, because that way, like if I were to do a fundraiser and just sort of like try to boost their fundraiser, then I can't like keep a tally on Twitter every 4 hours like I like to do of how much money has been donated and stuff like that, and it's less transparent because like I can't see the donations incoming, so I can't put them out there. I can't put them out there as often as I do. So I think that, well, I don't think I actually like took that on. I can show you the link for this fundraiser on YouTube because it's the same link actually. So the reason why I created the beacons.ai link is because, so there is because it's beacons.ai/fundraiser, and so you could tailor it to any fundraiser, and it's always the same like bank information except for Monobank that I need to take out, but provided that no one here really uses Monobank, it's mostly PayPal or Venmo or Revolut. I wouldn't, I'm not really worried, but I need to change Monobank. So this is a $15,000 fundraiser. Obviously this one's going to go over for a long time. This is a huge amount of money, but it would buy 6 DJI Mavic 3 Pro drones, which are reconnaissance drones, and they're basically like the best in the market for that. So, and they're the most purchased ones. One DJI Mavic 3 Pro drone. Sorry, it's a lot to pronounce, but one of those drones is $2,199 plus tax. So I rounded it up to 2,500, and if there is like anything left over, then I would just use that to, or I mean, they would use it, not me. They would use that to buy batteries to make these drones fly longer. Hi, Armin. It's so good to see you. And also, oh my gosh, John Snyder. So there is someone requesting on Instagram. So I don't really do do requests because I'm gonna get to the news, but this is what I wanted. So the other day, I received a really cool gift from my Amazon wishlist that I literally forgot existed because I haven't really, I just haven't looked at it. So I forgot that it existed. And so I'm a huge fan of Billy Joel, and like a huge fan. I know, listen, don't judge. We love what we love. And so I got an Amazon package, and it was the Billy Joel album. And I saw the name and like the very sweet, like, because you can write like a little note, And I was like, wait, like I've seen this name before, but I don't know on which platform. And then yesterday I was gonna ask if any of you are named John with a last name that starts with S, with S. And I forgot because I was like talking about Gungadze and stuff like that. And like, oh my gosh, thank you so very much. So it's a really cool album. It's also a limited edition album to 50 years of Billy Joel, and it's really cool. It's actually on my record player right now, and I've listened to it probably every day since I've received it a couple of days ago, and it's like very very cool. And thank you very 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 much. That's very very sweet. And I've been trying to figure out how to find which platform you were on so I could thank you, and I couldn't. So thank you so so very much for sending over that Billy Joel album. It's really sweet. Okay. Favorite thing to do, watching Ukraine win. Okay, I think this is right about time to start the news. Also, for the fundraiser with the Mavics, which is going to go up on TikTok and on Instagram tomorrow and on X as well. John and Ola, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So, oh my gosh, what was I gonna say? Oh my gosh, I remembered where I saw the name. It was on the fundraiser, right? Oh my gosh, I could have just like found you on PayPal and thanked you. Thank you guys. But basically for the drone fundraiser, for those of you who donate $100 or $200 or upwards of $50, please put your email in there because you are going to get Cinebucks. Cinebucks are, this is how I figured, this is what we're going to do with Cinebucks. Cinebucks are going to be like a token of appreciation for everybody who makes a donation that's in the amount of like 50, 100, 200, or, like depending, basically like for these types of amounts, you will receive a Cinebucks. Cinebucks are these kind of just things that I've designed that are basically fake currency that has my dog's Christmas picture from a couple of years ago, and it has a personalization and a serial number, and they're all going to be different. So you can think about it as like collecting Cinebucks. Cinebucks are adorable, at least I think so. I'm totally not biased. I'm absolutely not biased. Okay. Вони трошки нагадують гривні, так. And yeah, these Cinebucks kind of have been emulated from hryvnias, or hryvnias were the inspiration. So so there is that. And if you haven't met my dog yet and you don't know who Cindy is, let me bring her out, because she hasn't. A lot of people come here for Cindy, not for me. I show you Cindy, and then we jump into the news. I'm sorry for taking my sweet ass time with that, but I like to chat. Cindy, come here, Bubba. Come here, little Bubba. Okay, this is Cindy. She's she doesn't look very happy or excited, but that's just her normal state of being. She's a gremlin. She is a dog otherwise known as the pig dog, the gremlin, the grumpkin, Sinister Minister, because her name is SYNI, so Sinister Minister. Hail Queen Cindy. Hi, Chad. Yes, she is a queen. She is a Cindy. So yes, this is the thing that takes up my entire life, rules my life, and I am just a character in hers. I'm just here to bow. Sinya. Cindy. Her name is Sinya in Ukrainian. Good girl. I'm sorry for having disturbed your rest, but that's basically all you do all day. So it's really, you'll be okay. Our savior, Cine. Yes, it's like, some people believe in Jesus, some people believe in Allah, some people believe in uh, Buddha, some people believe in, in some other gods. I don't have a choice. I just have to believe and serve Cine. Because that is just how French bulldogs are. That's what they do. Sin, hey, get your head out of there. She's a peach. Okay. Are we ready for the news? I think we're ready for the news. I think we are. Okay, well, if you're ready for the news, you let me know if you're ready for the news. Anyone? Anyone? Oh, you want me to ramble longer? Because I can ramble. Trust me. Oh, I can ramble for a while. Don't you worry. We're here for Cine. Okay. Well, Cine is not here for you. Cine is not here for anyone other than Cine. Hey, Mojave Mike. What news? Oh, the news from the dog world, obviously, from, doggy daycare that Cine doesn't attend. Anyways. Hi. Bye. Ukraine has acquired an additional 4 Gurkha armored vehicles in medical variant, facilitated through the assistance of the United 24 initiative. These armored vehicles are constructed on the Ford F550 Super Duty chassis. These are actually great. So, medical armored vehicles is something that Ukraine needs more than you would think, because, for instance, and I was talking about it on the podcast on Ukraine War Brief a little while ago. If you missed that episode, my friend and founder, thank you, Chad, my friend and founder of Trident Defense Initiative, Dan, he was talking a little bit about why there are so many amputations in Ukraine, outside of the fact that a lot of the area of Ukraine is severely mined, right? So obviously, the majority of the amputations result from people just blowing up on mines, but also a really good portion of them is the result of people not only blowing up on mines, but medical personnel, or rather combat medics, being trained in like March algorithm, and being trained to treat people as if they were in Iraq or Afghanistan or any other NATO conflict, where you have air superiority, where you have medevac helicopters, and where you have functional hospitals within an hour of the point of injury. So in Ukraine, you do not have a hospital an hour away. You do not have the opportunity to be evacuated within the golden hour. And for those of you who do not know what the golden hour is, it's basically like you apply a tourniquet and you keep it on a limb to save the life and to save the limb, right? Because within an hour or within 2, you're able to basically get to the hospital, because there is medevac, there is medevac helicopters, there is a lot of support in that area. In Ukraine, there isn't. You can lay in a ditch for 24 hours. You can lay in a ditch for 12 hours. You can lay in a ditch for 3 days. And so if you have an injury that isn't like arterial bleeding, but it's a venereal bleeding, and someone puts a tourniquet on you, if you survive, you're going to lose your limb. But if it's a venereal bleeding, it's not going to result in you dying. So there are ways of obstructing the blood, right, from like running out without using a tourniquet, because if you do use a tourniquet in this kind of situation, the person, if they survive, they'll lose a limb when they didn't have to. And there is like an overuse of tourniquets in the battlefield of Ukraine. So for instance, Dan was talking about how he was visiting a morgue and there was a deceased soldier. There was a deceased soldier, and that soldier had 3 tourniquets on their leg. Like on 2 legs, they had 3 tourniquets, which is wild. That soldier unfortunately didn't survive, but if he had survived, he would have lost 2 limbs, and his bleeding was not even coming. So the tourniquets were basically useless because his bleeding was not coming from an area where this needed to be the situation. And so these medevac vehicles are incredibly, incredibly important for Ukraine, because the more of those we have, the easier it is going to be for the medical personnel to reach the point of injury and reach the battlefield and evacuate the soldier in a more timely manner than having to wait for, artillery fire to pass. And sometimes, again, artillery fire will go for 12 hours. So one of the reasons why it's so hard to evacuate these soldiers is, one, because these conditions are not the same as the conditions on the battlefield in NATO armies, right? That we've seen before. In more modern conflicts. You can't just helicopter to the point of injury. You can just get to the point of injury easily. There is artillery fire nonstop, and you have to wait to get there. And then also you have to wait to get to a hospital, because a lot of the times it is not within an hour drive, because a lot of these hospitals have been blown up by Russian missiles. And you have to get to the closest hospital in a large city. So that's kind of what it is. There are no NATO built hospitals, and there are no big NATO sponsored field hospitals with lots of equipment you can use to save a life. There are stabilization points, CCPs, but those usually don't necessarily, they're not there to do they're there to save your life in treacherous conditions. They're not there to have time to they're not there to have time to attend to your amputation in the most exquisite manner possible. Also, Zach, yeah, the so-called golden hour is vital. So I just talked about it. The golden hour doesn't apply to Ukraine because we literally do not have that. We don't have that ability. People from the point of injury can spend 12 hours to 24 hours to 3 days in a trench before somebody is going to be able to evacuate them. So that's the problem, is that a lot of medics have been trained in the NATO golden hour and March algorithm. And this knowledge needs to be thrown out of the head of any medic that's on the battlefield in Ukraine, because it simply just doesn't apply to the conditions in which they're working. So that's one thing that I think is very important to stress, especially for people who are considering joining Ukrainian military as a combat medic who are from abroad. You're likely going to be trained towards NATO standards, and NATO standards is what Ukraine has. NATO standards is what Ukraine has adapted as well. But unfortunately, in this type of warfare and full-scale invasion of a country with constant missile fire, artillery fire, ballistics, and stuff like that, it just flows out of the window. Like the golden hour and the Marsh algorithm are just useless. So if you are going to Ukraine, the thing that Dan said is always have a pair of shears with you. Always check, always cut clothes, check the injury. You have time. You don't have time, right? But you have time. Don't overuse tourniquets. Don't just put tourniquets everywhere, right? Try to save people's limbs. Think about each person individually, right? They're going to have to live with it. And if you don't need to use the tourniquet, if they don't need that, if you can stop the bleeding any other way, and it's not like an arterial bleed that's literally going to kill them and they're going to bleed out, you have options. And these options don't have to include tourniquets, because those are going to guarantee loss of limbs. And so one of the reasons why we see so many amputations, outside of the fact that there are so many mines, right, is because of tourniquets and overuse of them, and people not really thinking what they can do and not using their knowledge as a combat medic, but rather using algorithms and using stable procedures that they were taught that do not apply in the conditions in which they're currently working. So that is that. And yeah, we started with armored medevacs, and those are important because those really do help bringing people back from the battlefield when they're injured in a much more efficient manner. The political advisor to the Prime Minister of Hungary, Balázs Orbán, said that Budapest is ready to remove the veto on the approval of 50 billion euros of macro-financial assistance to Ukraine if the EU unfreezes all of Hungary's funds from its funds, about 30 billion euros. See, here's the thing. Hungary, as I've said so many times, is just it's like a money pit, right? Like it's like, but it's not a money pit in terms, yeah, it's a money pit. Okay. Like it's quicksand of EU money. Like EU just keeps giving and giving and giving Hungary money, and it just keeps like, falling through the quicksand and never coming back. Hungary doesn't contribute anything to the EU. It's literally both. Well, both Poland and Hungary economically are doing the worst in the EU, but Poland contributes something back and Hungary just does not. So Hungary takes the second place in how much assistance they get from the EU, and it takes the last place in what they bring back. And Hungary constantly uses its veto power to block resolutions that EU makes towards Ukraine, or literally towards anything that isn't fascist and like Russian sympathizing, in order for the EU to give Hungary more money. Because the EU punishes Hungary for the doesn't give it money when it's not like, when Hungary does not abide by the rules of the EU and by the doctrine of the EU and by like the order of the EU, which is reasonable. And so Hungary can't get that money until they fix their economy, until they fix these issues that are not compliant with EU standards. But they don't want to do that. So they just want to blackmail the EU through Ukraine and get the money anyway. And that's what they've been doing every single time that there has been any sort of vote or any sort of resolution offered, especially that concerns Ukraine, because they know that it's a big deal and they know that it's a burning question, and that's how they can extort the EU. Honestly, like I've said this so many times, but I just hope that the EU in 2024 somehow figures out how to disable the veto and how to just do majority voting, or how to or come up with a procedure to eliminate a country from the union. Because my God, does Hungary not deserve to be in the EU? And my God, do they break all of EU's like laws and reasonable codes of conduct? And do they, if they were to apply today, they would absolutely not qualify by any standards or means. It's like Hungary, it's so fucking gross. So yeah. Is there a process for what? I see. Hi, Dawn. Oh my gosh. Wait, Dawn. Hello. I wonder if you're the same Dawn from TikTok or you're a different Dawn. But yeah, you guys, Cindy needs water, so give me 1 second. I'm just gonna go give her water, and then I'm gonna come back in a minute. It's just bad dog things. Hi, Linatello. I apologize, but I do have a responsibility to look after this creature, and she had drank all of her water, but I realized that I turned on heat before doing the live, so she gets a little more, so she needs a little more water because it's quite toasty in here. So give me a second. Bud, what's up? Do you want water? Or are you trying to extort me for food? Because that's not going to happen. You literally recently had that. Oh, yeah? So it was about water. Okay. All right, fine. That I'm willing to delay you. Okay, I'm back. It didn't take as long as one might have thought. Commercial break. Yeah. So there is that. And I forgot where was I? Oh, I wasn't asking Dawn if he's the same Dawn from TikTok. Cine ASMR, yes, lots of Cine ASMR. Sorry about that. that is the life of a person who has a dog. Consistent dog ASMR. Consistent dog drinking ASMR. Just, consistent. Let me see something. Do I have a mic jack in here? I don't. Because I have a little no, you're not the same, Dawn. Aw. Well, I mean, hey, I'm not disappointed, as in, like, I'm sure you're a fantastic Dawn as well. So far, I've had really good luck with people named Dawn. I know one, and he's great. But it's nice to know more Dawns. Yeah, we stopped with Hungary, but yeah, sorry. I was trying to see if I have like a headphone jack here, because I have my little camera mic over here that I could plug in, because I realized, last time I was like rewatching my stream for like a couple of I wanted to like find a couple of things that I was talking about, and like before I took a huge YouTube break, uh, I used to use my camera for streams, not my webcam on my computer, and I used to use my microphone for streams. So it was just so surreal, because when I watch YouTube videos, I'm like used to a certain sound quality and a certain like picture quality, and it was very strange to see my own video that's like very clearly filmed on a webcam, and there are like trash cans behind me, and the sound is so like computer sound. So next time I'm just gonna plug in my microphone, because it is driving me crazy. Ah. So, from what I understand, one of the biggest hurdles for Ukraine entrance has to do with farmland. Okay, so here's the thing. It's not that Ukraine does not apply to EU standards for farmland or farming. The issue is that a lot of countries are trying to make farmland and farming an issue because, for instance, one state in Ukraine can produce enough chicken for the entirety of European Union. Ukraine is a massive country, and because we have been subject to genocide basically every decade from Russia, we do not have a massive population. So we do have a lot of open land, and we have a lot of fields, and agriculture is one of our huge um, kind of GDP boosters, right? So the problem with Ukraine entering the EU is that the market is going to get oversaturated. So, for instance, like farmers in Poland are going to take a huge blow. Farmers in Hungary are going to take a huge blow. Farmers everywhere are going to take a huge blow, because basically Ukraine as a country can supply things like tomatoes, watermelons, chicken, all that stuff to the EU by itself, while other countries can't. So there is there is kind of trade between countries, and like say Germany produces this and sends that to Poland. Poland produces this and sends that to France, right? France produces this and sends that to Spain. Ukraine produces a lot of agricultural products, and a lot of countries are really threatened by that, because again, we just have and right now we're selling these products to countries that are like very far away from Ukraine and very far away from the EU. But once we're in the EU, and once like we start basically so here's the thing, there is like EU standards for the way that you for like production quality, right? It doesn't mean that Ukraine's production is not good quality, and that's why like it doesn't like is some of the products are not up to EU standards. It just means that Ukraine is using a different standard. So, for instance, like let me give you an example. Treating potatoes with chlorine is considered organic. Treating potatoes with other preservatives is not, because chlorine is an organic element. Do you want your potatoes to be treated with chlorine? I don't. I would rather them being treated with like other preservatives that are not chlorine, because chlorine is not good for you. So it's all in the wording, and it's all in what specific like countries and what the EU considers to be the standard of quality. So once Ukraine is in the EU and all of its products are going to be under that standard, all of the products are going to be available to be purchased and to be sold on the EU market. So right now, for instance, because we use a different standard of quality, which I find it very funny because, to be honest, if you buy like food on the market in Ukraine, and I've been to various countries in Europe, and I'm not saying this because I'm Ukrainian, and also like again, I've been to various countries in Europe, I've been to various countries worldwide, and I will tell you that like produce is the freshest and tastes the best in Ukraine. Like genuinely, I have not found tomatoes that are nearly as good anywhere else that I've been. I like cucumbers have a flavor in Ukraine. Cucumbers here, for instance, are just water. They're better than in the US, in Europe, but actually like when I was in Ukraine this time around, I was very, 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 very surprised because like food just generally everywhere was much, much, much more flavorful and much better. So that is not to say that like, so again, like just because Ukrainian produce does not comply, or like certain parts of Ukrainian produce or agriculture do not comply with the EU standard, doesn't mean that it's lower quality. It just means that it's a different standard, right? Because countries set standards, but once Ukraine enters the EU, it is going to have to comply with those standards and is going to be available for all the EU market. And that's a threat to a lot of European countries because right now Ukraine cannot import a lot of its goods into Europe because we sell most of our stuff to different countries whose standards of quality are different. And we just can't swap them because then we will lose those countries and no one in the EU is actually going to buy our stuff, right? Because they have like enough of their own. But once Ukraine is in the EU and is forced to implement those standards of quality, Ukraine is also going to be in the EU market. And now people are going to start buying it because it's cheaper than, for instance, like in France or Poland or Germany, but it's the same standard of quality. So see where I'm going with this? Anyway, so agriculture is just a very big kind of like, it's a very big threat for a lot of Europe. Again, I think it's the state, I forgot what state it was, but like maybe it was Vinnytsia actually. But one oblast in Ukraine produces enough chicken for the entirety of the European Union a year. So it's like, it's a big country and lots of like open fields and fertile. Like Ukraine has 30% of world's richest black soil. That is a lot of black soil. So yeah. Yep, Ukraine is the size of Texas. And it takes quite a while to drive. Well, so last time it took me 8 hours to get from Lviv to Kyiv. And then it takes about 8 to 9 hours to get from Kyiv to Kharkiv. So that is like 18 hours. And that's if you're like driving nonstop, right? So yeah. Kyiv encountered a ballistic attack, resulting in a short duration between the alarm and subsequent explosions. An assessment of the affected buildings will be conducted soon, and actions to address the aftermath of the rocket attack are in progress. Mayor Klitschko confirmed that at least 53 injuries from the Kyiv shelling, with 20 individuals currently hospitalized. There were 53 people injured in Kyiv. I'm going to show you this video, but also I saw videos from some of my friends and videos from some of the people on the internet who like live in central Kyiv, right? And they filmed what it sounded like during that ballistic attack, and it was a massive attack. Like it was just explosion, 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 explosion. Like it sounded like Armageddon. And, for those people who think that the war doesn't touch Kyiv, it does. It really, really does. Kyiv just has good air defense. So the chances of something landing on multiple or reaching its destination or landing in multiple destinations are very slim. However, when air defense works and takes down a missile, the debris from the missile tends to fall somewhere. And they obviously try to do it so that it doesn't fall on like people's homes. But between but between taking down a rocket as efficiently as possible and some debris landing on one home or in one area versus like a massive rocket exploding somewhere and taking down many buildings with it, right? The choice is always to take down the rocket, right? And sometimes, obviously, you can take it down in air so that it doesn't land on civilian property. And so this one landed, this debris landed, and it resulted in 53 people injured. The mayor of Kyiv reported the formation of sinkholes in several districts due to falling debris, leading to a severed water pipe along one of the boulevards and flooding at a crossing. Efforts are ongoing to restore water supply. Yeah, they want to hit electric infrastructure, of course. They want to just do damage in the winter. Also, you guys, if you have any questions or something like that while I'm talking about something, please feel free to write them out. If I haven't seen your question or something, you can just send it again and I will try to see it. Just don't like spam. And also, like my moderators hate caps lock. They do. I don't, unless you're like abusing it. But if you've like asked a question a couple of times and I haven't seen it, then you can let a mod know. Like for instance, on YouTube, that would be Grumpy. I think there are quite a few. Oh, I'm not done yet, Jason, and we will get there. But for instance, on YouTube, that would be Grumpy, and I think Fellow McCrunches. I don't know which one of them is currently active there, but also on TikTok, it's also Grumpy, but there are also plenty other people there. And they can just let me know, and Grumpy can like write that on Instagram or something because that chat is very slow. I can definitely see it. Oh, hi. I'm finally getting here late. Sorry. Why sorry? Oh my gosh, you guys, when you get here late, you're like apologizing, and I feel like a teacher who's like running a class and I'm about to like, mark like a little red dot on and next to your name to be like, that's a lateness. Like, thank you for showing up. Like, I'm very happy to see you. No need to be sorry for being late. So yeah, just FYI. But the aftermath of the night attack on Kyiv resulted in flooding affecting an underground pedestrian crossing. Due to damage in the water supply network on the roadway in the Dnipro district, the basement of a building in the underground pedestrian crossing experienced flooding. This is what that looks like. Super chat, late fee payable. Oh, yeah, I will take that. So, if you feel the need to apologize for your lateness, I will take a super chat. That is a much nicer way to say I'm sorry. Yes, you guys, how dare you be late? That really disrupts the whole situation, the whole live. It really makes everyone's life so difficult, and it's really, really upsetting me. Like, it is taking a toll on my mental health. How dare you be late? I mean, listen. But so the thing about Kyiv crossings is like, if you've never been to Kyiv, I will let you know that if you are on Khreshchatyk, which is like the central street of Kyiv leading to Maidan Nezalezhnosti, Maidan, right? you literally and it's a long street, like it's long, like it's a good 20-minute walk from one end to another, right? It's long. If you're trying to cross the street, there is only one intersection during that entire street that you can do that over the ground. And everywhere else, like in many places in Kyiv, you have to go underground into this consumerism nightmare called Metrohrad, otherwise known as Tube City, Underground City, or Subway City. And it's this like massive tunnel of just shops, like random shops. It's like electronics, like clothes, whatever. It's just a bunch of like random freaking, I don't know, like there's pharmacies, there's convenience stores. It's just a lot. And the thing is, like, once you get in there, unless you know how to navigate it, you get swallowed. So you wanted to just cross the street, right? But because you go in here and you end up in this like massive passage, like you can just like go straight to get into another exit. Like, no, there are exits like maybe further down to the right or further down to the left. So you're forced to basically like have this extra time in this stupid underground passage that everybody who lives in Kyiv curses out. And I'm with them. I just want to be able to fucking cross the street over the ground, you know? I don't want to go underground. I do not want to be subjected to Metrohrad. I don't. And it's like, the thing is, it's literally a labyrinth. It is a labyrinth and I hate it. And everybody else does too. Tourists like it. It's cool, you know? It's like, ooh, shops underground. How cool. We hate it. We literally try to avoid it as much as we can. It's a really, really, really freaking annoying thing. I'm very happy that they renovated it lately, or like recently, or I guess in the past couple of years. Because, like, for instance, when I was in Kyiv before this year last, which was like 2011, it was like kind of dirty. It was very gross because it was just like an underground mall. Can you imagine how disgusting that is? And it was like built, you know, a long time ago, so it's kind of like Soviet looking, and it was disgusting. And then they've like renovated it, I think starting like 2005 or something. They started like working on really, really renovating it, and now it's like clean and it's like light and like it looks nice and decent. But it's just like, the point stands. I do not want to be stuck there. I'm just trying to cross the freaking street. Why am I stuck in like a shopping mall for 15 minutes without being able to like leave? So I've learned to navigate Metrohrad in the like crossings that I use the most, and I now know exactly where to get in and where to get out. Depending on where I need to land. You can also buy. The only thing that I will say is near McDonald's on Velika Vasilkivska. So that's very close to Arena City, so central Kyiv. In Metrohrad, you can buy very, very, very nice flowers. I mean, like actually beautiful bouquets that are very tasteful. And there's this one woman that makes them real nice. And she just has a talent, you know. I think she should have a flower shop. But anyways, so one of the things that you can buy in Metrohrad that's very useful is you can buy flowers. And specifically, the largest variety of flowers is near McDonald's. Is near McDonald's on Velika Vasilkivska. And to K-Bell, who says the peonies are gorgeous. Peonies are my favorite flowers, actually. I absolutely love peonies. I'm a sucker for them. So, you know, if you wanted to send me flowers, you know, you know what to send. So there is that. I'm kidding. You spent 15 minutes browsing in Kyiv? When were you in Kyiv? Oh my gosh. Over Odessa during the night, the Air Defense Forces successfully downed 9 Shahed drones. Regrettably, one of the downed drones crashed onto the premises of a communal car repair facility in Odessa, as reported by Oleg Kipar, head of the regional military administration. 2 civilian employees sustained injuries and burns, currently receiving treatment in the hospital. Prompt response from the State Emergency Service extinguished a fire at the site. However, the hangar suffered complete destruction, with 3 cars engulfed in flames and 11 others damaged. Additionally, in the Odessa region, the impact of debris from another downed drone partially demolished a port infrastructure building. Thankfully, there were no casualties, keepers stated. Hi, Ian. Yeah, the Odessa has been one of the cities that desperately needs good air defense and Patriot batteries is Odessa. Odessa gets shot at all the time, and Odessa has been getting so much damage, and Kherson as well. You know, since Kherson has been taken back by the AFU, Russians have really doubled down on shelling it because it's that's kind of what Russians do. One of the reasons why Russians did what you have seen them do to Mariupol is because of something very simple but very little known to most people. Did you know that in 2014, Mariupol was occupied by Russia for a month? How many of you knew that? How many of you knew that Mariupol was occupied by Russia for a month in 2014? With the initial invasion of Russia into Ukraine. I'm actually very curious to see how many of you did. If you didn't know, that's okay. Me, yes, no. Okay. Yeah, so basically, no, I'm not like, there is no reason to apologize for not knowing that. I just wanted to gauge sort of like how many of you knew this fact. So Azov, for instance, was one of the largest forces that deoccupied Mariupol from Russia. And when Mariupol was deoccupied, people were celebrating. There were Ukrainian flags all over the place, and Mariupol did not want to be Russia. And Azov, it was one of the reasons why Mariupol was deoccupied, which is why Russia hates them so much, right? One of the reasons why. So the reason why we believe the reason why Russia did to Mariupol what it did is revenge for not giving in 2014. And because this time they were going to go all out. So that's kind of why they did what they did. So I think what they're doing to Kherson now is similar in a way, because Ukrainians deoccupied Kherson, and people in Kherson really didn't want to give in to Russia. Like, even though there was torture, there were arrests, there was filtration, there was all of that, people still came out to protest at first. People still resisted. There was a lot of resistance in Kherson. I think that the reason why they're shelling Kherson so much now is kind of like in retaliation, as revenge for not wanting to be part of Russia, or rather not giving in. So Kherson and Odessa, I would say right now, and Zaporizhia are probably the cities that require the most air defense out of the cities that don't have advanced air defense. And one of the most important things for cities that are not at the front, but close to the front, is air defense. So for instance, there was, Zelensky spoke a lot about air defense in his speech to the Congress, and there were quite a few people from the military who were a little bit like offended by that, because Zelensky said one of the most important things is air defense, and they were like, yeah, if you live in Kyiv, because it depends on where you live, right? Yes, one of the most important things, if you live in a big city like Odessa, like Kherson, like Zaporizhia, is air defense. If you are at the front and you live in a small prefrontal city, then assault weapons is some of the most important things. F-16s are important. Air superiority is important. Drones are important. And I mean like combat drones, not just reconnaissance or like FPV drones. It's weapons, ammo is very, very important. So, yeah. So I would say that, this was sort of like the way that it was phrased wasn't necessarily the best, because the most important thing is not air defense. The most important thing is air defense if you're a civilian, but the most important thing in general is ammo, 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 and more ammo. And I say that as a civilian because, we, even though cities do require air defense, they do. It's a very important thing. We are not arguably, but very really, like very realistically, we are much more protected than those at the front. We experience less casualties, obviously, and and we are in a lot less danger than those that are protecting our country at the front line, because they don't get to have air defense from artillery fire. They don't get to have air defense from the missiles that are flying at them daily, right? So, what they need and what all of us need, because what they need is what all of us need, is we need ammo. We need F-16s. We need assault weapons. The most important thing is assault weapons. The second most important thing is air defense. So I understand that most countries are much more willing to give air defense, and that's why Zelensky, was making such an emphasis on air defense, because I know it's more reasonable to get, as in like he knows it's a much more it's a much more guaranteed sort of thing, and a lot more countries are willing to provide that than assault weapons. But in reality, the emphasis is we need assault weapons. Hi, Tridents. So yeah, Brian was a troll trying to cause problems. Oh, I didn't even notice Brian. I don't know who Brian is, so I guess good job, mods, and everyone else, because I didn't even notice Brian or his trollness. Where is I have so many like lip ointments and stuff, and when I need one, I don't have a single one anywhere near me. Give me 1 second, because my lips are just going nuts. So give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I know I keep walking away and coming back, but it is like an hour-long stream, so I feel like it is reasonable. It is reasonable to go get some. It is reasonable to go get some lip oil. I'm also going to say, for those of you who are either ladies, or we do not discriminate, if you are men and you like makeup, that's fine too. But I will say that I normally do not buy like hyped items, especially if it's Rihanna's makeup line or like whatever, because I'm actually I really like clean cosmetics and stuff like that. So I usually don't buy any of these like super trendy like whatever things on the internet. It's just not my thing. I shop at like a clean cosmetics store, and I try not to buy like whatever Sephora sells in a lot of ways, unless it's like makeup, even though because like not skincare but makeup, even though I like actually prefer to buy most of my stuff at Credo. But this thing, which is from Fenty Beauty, which like I know people who love makeup absolutely love Rihanna, and I'm sure her like makeup line is great. She has like all of these shimmery things and they're good quality and all that stuff. But I just like makeup that looks like you're not wearing any makeup, not makeup that looks like you're going to a burlesque show makeup, which there is nothing wrong with that. But like it's just not for me. So I usually don't buy like skincare from like makeup brands or from like celebrities or like from whatever. But this lip oil, this like Fenty Beauty, whatever, like lip oil, they have them in a duo for Christmas, like for their like holiday sets, whatever. So it's like cheaper to buy two than it is to buy one. And I will say, this does live up to the hype. Like, I love this thing. I bring it with me everywhere. I don't like the other flavor as much as I like this one. It is very perfumized. And for those of you who are sensitive to scents in your makeup, so it does, it is very like scented, but it's very, very good. I love it. I just don't like the other scent. Eyeliner and foundation, but I don't wear makeup. And I use lip gloss. Yeah, it's good lip gloss. You know, great lip gloss. Friana watches this and sees that, you know, this happened. Send me some lip gloss, girl, you know? That's just all. My wife wants me to use eyeliner. Listen, if you like, here's the thing. I don't, okay, this is like a little lyrical pause, right? But so like there are lots of like women and men that like try to change their partners and make them do certain things that they wouldn't otherwise do. And like society is so like used to this being normal that it's like normalized to like change things, right? If you like to wear eyeliner, you should wear eyeliner. If you're like, if your wife wants you to wear eyeliner, but you don't want to do it, don't do it. Like, just don't do it. I generally like absolutely despise when people like start dating someone or like whatever and they like try to change things about you. Like you can change bad habits, right? Like you can help someone with the things that they like want help with. Like for instance, if they want help with their style or something like that, right? Like you can do these things. Or if they don't care how they dress, then you like to dress like, I don't know, and you think that your like style is better, like go ahead, buy them clothes. I'm sure they're not going to care, you know, and they're just going to start wearing what you would want them to wear anyway. But like people have preferences and people have things they like, and I hate it when people start dating someone or people are like people are like, you know, partnering up and they're trying to change things about their partner. Stop doing that. That's so stupid. That's so gross. And it's like, it's just really unacceptable because, like, you know what you're getting, right? And if you don't like all of these things, then just don't date that person. Like, there is a world of other people. And it's just limiting to you and it's limiting to that person. And it's, I don't know, I have a very strong opinion on that because I mean, I'm overbearing in terms of like, I like helping people. So if like someone needs my help, I go into like problem solver mode and I can be intense. But I also acknowledge that. So I always tell people not to feel pressured. This is just what I do. Like I'm a problem solver. So I just want people to know all of their options. But like, if it seems to them like, you know, like they're pressured into like making a choice in between these options, then no, I just want them to know that these options are available to them, right? But changing things about someone, unless they're like bad habits and you're asking them not to do that, is not cool by any means. And I know this has nothing to do with Ukraine, but like and maybe your wife didn't even try to do that. But I don't know. And I very often see this in men in terms of like controlling who women hang out with and like what they do and when they come back home, like sort of it's like a control over like, you know, their whereabouts and their moving around and stuff like that. Don't do that. That's gross and that's literally freedom limiting. And like if your wife, girlfriend, whatever wanted to cheat on you, they would have done that, or they just would not have dated you. And you limiting their movements is really not going to prevent that. It might delay it, but also likely will push them into the hands of someone who actually respects them as autonomous human beings. And what I see in women is that they try to change their men's, like, a lot of their habits in like what they like and what they do and how they spend their free time and stuff like that, which is also very limiting. And if you don't like there is disrespectful things where like, you know, a person is not paying attention to you and they're just like, you know, hanging out with their friends and playing video games and literally never paying attention to you, just break up with them. That's not going to change. That person is not interested, right? These things are disrespectful. But if someone is like, likes to spend time a different way than you do, then you got to let them do that. And if you don't want to partake in it, that's fine. They can partake in it with their friends. But changing someone's like preferences and changing someone's like personality traits and character traits is not cool. Changing bad habits is fine. But what you might see as a bad habit is not necessarily bad. So you got to talk about these things, not yell about them and not like try to impose yourself. So yeah. Anyways, this is super not like Ukraine related, but I'm very, very, very I'm very, very like this is the thing. I'm super I have like opinions on this, and I really, really don't like when people meet. I think there is this problem in society where we meet someone, right? And we have an idea of them and we like that idea. And then the actual person doesn't live up to this idea because they're a person, right? And we created this like image in our head and we try to mold them into this image in our head. And it's like, no, you take a person for what they are. And if you don't like it, you move on and you find someone that works for you. And you don't stay in a relationship and try to mold them into what you want them to be. You either accept what they are or you move the fuck on. And that's that. It's really that. And I know it's hard to do, but that's just what it is. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anyways. Anyways. Okay. With offensive actions on the battlefield, Russia wants to undermine Western support for Ukraine. So yeah. And that's, well, Russia is not only doing that with offensive actions on the battlefield, Russia is also doing that in the information field. They're quite literally trying to derail support from Ukraine, and they're trying to undermine Western democratic societies and distract them from what's going on, so their governments are useless. Hi, Ozzy. Good to see you. Volodymyr Zelensky made an unannounced visit to Oslo, as reported by Die Welt. The president arrived unexpectedly in the capital of Norway ahead of a scheduled meeting involving heads of state and governments from Nordic countries. The discussions are expected to cover collaborative defense strategies and bolstering support for Ukraine. Zelensky has been busy. He's been to Argentina, then he was in the United States. He was trying to talk to Lula in Brazil or Brazil. Sorry if someone's Brazilian. I don't really speak Portuguese, but I do know a little bit about how to pronounce Brazil. But anyways, and Lula said no, but allegedly it is not to be taken as like an issue, but with the diplomacy between Brazil and Ukraine, it is rather an issue of scheduling, because Zelensky made the request at the last minute, and last minute requests are very rarely honored, especially if something else is going on. So Norway's Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre announced that Norway will extend additional financial and humanitarian aid to Ukraine, totaling $800 million, which is more than what the US has announced in their last support package. You know? And the US is like the largest economy by far out of all of these economies. Not that I'm complaining, I'm very grateful, but also we all know what's been going on with the U.S. government and the Republicans, and what they have been doing, and how they have basically been blackmailing Democrats into passing these horrendous laws at the border in exchange for passing Ukraine aid. So yeah. Oh, hi, Paul, and hi, Frost, or Froster. Oh my gosh, why did I always think it was Frost? Because there is a 3. Okay, well, hi, Froster. And hi, Paul. And also, Aussie, what time is it in Aussie? Canada needs to send more armored vehicles. Does Canada have enough available armored vehicles? I think they do. Canada has a lot of armored vehicles, actually. Donald Tusk's government officially commenced its duties, taking the oath at the presidential palace. Tusk pledged to serve Poland's interests in collaboration with the president, representing the PIS party that lost power. Earlier, Tusk affirmed that his government would urge the West to continue supporting Ukraine. He urged Poland's political factions to unite, emphasizing the importance of standing undivided while Russia engaged in an aggressive war. Simultaneously, reports from ONET suggests that Ukraine has extended an invitation to the new Prime Minister of Poland to visit Kyiv as an initiative to restart relations. This prospective visit could mark one of the initial foreign trips, and Tusk is likely to consider and accept the proposal. So he's super pro-Ukrainian. He is also not a Christo-fascist, as opposed to Mateusz Morawiecki and the rest of the Prawo i Sprawiedliwość party. And it's also very likely that he's going to work on dismantling the protests, because those actually have been largely influenced by a very pro-Russian party, and they have largely been supported by that party as well. I didn't sleep well last night, but I think I got about 4 hours. 4 hours? Oh no. Oh my gosh. So I got this like lamp that's supposed to help you sleep because it also produces like white noise. So I don't necessarily need I don't necessarily like white noise to sleep, right? But I just have like horrendous sleep patterns now. And sometimes I have a very hard time falling asleep. And I know that like a lot of people get used to white noise and then it does help them sleep. And so yesterday this lamp arrived. I was like using it. I had some Amazon credit, and it's been from anyways, from a long time ago. I had this Amazon credit that I found in my inbox recently because I was like, oh wait, that should have come through like a month ago or so. And it was enough to buy this like lamp on discount, and I've been wanting this lamp for a while. And it like kind of simulates sunset and then sunrise. And it has like different white noise settings. So I tried rain, didn't work. I tried like a bunch of other ones, didn't work. And I was like about to give up. And then I found the sound of a road trip. And the thing is, like, I fall asleep in the car like there is no tomorrow. If I'm not driving, if I'm like on the passenger seat or I'm in the back seat, oh my gosh, I'll pass out. I pass out in an airplane. I pass out in the train. I just have such an easy time sleeping in transport. Like, I have a hard time staying awake on the subway. It's something about like the noises of transportation and the vibration. I just I pass out. And I put on that road trip noise, and oh my God, I fell asleep within like 10 minutes. It was like the best thing. It was so soothing. I love it. I love it. When was the last time you were in Ukraine? A month ago, and I'm coming back in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So yeah. During the Bundestag session today, Scholz announced that by the year's end, the second Patriot air defense system will be deployed in Ukraine. Additionally, armored vehicles, ammunition, winter protective clothing for the military, and generators will also be provided to Ukraine. Woo! Scholz has stepped it up. We talked about it last time. He has been like very gung-ho on really supporting Ukraine and actually doing everything to help Ukraine win. In an audience with King Harald V of Norway in Oslo, President Zelensky expressed gratitude to the Norwegian people, government, and parliament for their significant humanitarian, financial, and military assistance to Ukraine. He especially appreciated Norway's initiation of a comprehensive 5-year support program for Ukraine launched in February 2023.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I do live in New York. Russia has lost 87% of the total number of ground troops and 2/3 of the tanks it had gathered before the invasion of Ukraine, as per the CNN. This data was obtained from a declassified US intelligence assessment provided to the Congress. He's getting my old king now. Thus, according to intelligence estimates, out of the 360,000 troops who invaded Ukraine in February 2022, Russia lost 315,000 on the battlefield. So basically, they invaded with 360,000 and lost 315,000 since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. Obviously, they have replenished their army a ton of times because Russia just has bodies on top of bodies on top of bodies, and I'm saying that because that's all Russia sees them as, bodies. As of late November, Russia had lost over a quarter of its pre-invasion stockpiles of ground forces equipment. Out of 3,500 tanks, 2,200 were lost. Also, 4,400 of the 13,600 infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers were destroyed as well, which is 32% of the losses. Still, despite heavy losses of men and equipment, Russian President Vladimir Putin is determined to push forward. A highly anticipated Ukrainian counteroffensive stagnated through the fall, and U.S. officials believe that Kyiv is unlikely to make any major gains over the coming months. Well, that we will not know because it depends on deliveries. It depends on whether the aid package goes through, and it depends on what the strategy is in the Ukrainian military that it hasn't been discussing with the world, right? So that is a very slippery slope, so to speak. And that's a bold assumption because, again, it depends, it depends on what's going to happen tomorrow. These things cannot really be predicted like that, right? Unless you have a lot of insider information. But yes, so Russia has lost a lot. Ukraine is obviously also losing quite a bit. But Russia is not stopping because Russia is a murderous terrorist state that wants to eradicate Ukraine from existence. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And Vladimir Putin doesn't care for how much he's lost, and he doesn't care for human lives at all. So he's going to keep pushing. That's not news. That's not surprising. I just received an email, and I'm trying to figure out which inbox it was because I saw it pop up on my screen, and I know it's unlikely to be from the fundraiser because I haven't really talked about it. But usually when I have an email on the pop up on this screen, it's because someone PayPal'd. So I just wanted to make sure so I don't miss it, because every single time I get any sort of donation for any one of the fundraisers I'm running, it goes to I announce it. Okay, 877 civilians were killed and injured by Russian mines in the liberated territories. 877 civilians in liberated territories. That does not include all of the random explosives when the Kakhovka Dam exploded. That does not include Mariupol. That does not include any of the occupied territories. State Department says the new U.S. aid package to Kyiv may be the last. The new $200 million package of military aid to Ukraine includes ammunition for air defense systems, for high mobility artillery rocket systems, artillery shells, hi Gord, and anti-radiation missiles, the U.S. State Department reported. It was also emphasized in a statement that if Congress does not take steps to provide additional aid, this will be one of the last security assistance packages we will be able to provide to Ukraine. That's the thing. The U.S. is able to provide Ukraine with many, many, many security assistance packages, but it won't if Republicans don't get their heads out of their ass. And by Republicans, I mean the legislators, not the people, because there are quite a few amazing Republican people who are not voting for this Republican administration, because this administration is batshit crazy and fascist. So anyways, they need to get their head out of their ass and start acting. Germany's draft new budget retains 8 billion euros for military aid to Ukraine, says Olaf Scholz. We stand firmly on the Ukrainian side in its struggle against Russian aggression. Scholz stated, and he confirmed, that the Federal Republic of Germany will support Ukraine as long as necessary. Also, Germany is one of the wealthiest countries in the EU. Actually, I think Germany produces the most in GDP and contributes the most to the EU. So Germany's support is actually very vital because Germany's opportunities are the highest. It is planned to allocate 8 billion euro for defense aid. It also provides financial assistance and support to Ukrainian refugees. The Bundestag will consider the draft on December 14th. The Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico, another new little dictator in the making. What are relations like between Ukraine and South Korea? So our relationship is fine. It's not nearly as developed as it could be, but it's not nearly as developed as it could be. But the thing is that South Korea does not actually, like, they have a sort of neutrality going on, and they cannot, under their law, they actually cannot provide military assistance to a country at war because they do not want to take a side. And they can technically sell their armored vehicles to a different country, and that country can then provide it to Ukraine. But it's a huge, you have to convince them that is not against their laws and against their constitution and stuff like that. And they have done that before. They've provided some, I believe, armored personnel carriers to Germany to send to Ukraine, or to the US to send to Ukraine, but they will not do that directly to Ukraine. So it's a very difficult situation. So South Korea is not really someone that can militarily support Ukraine because it's against their laws and regulations. And it's not just about Ukraine; it's about any armed conflict. They can sell their weapons to any country just as long as they're not at war presently. So yeah. The joke being a proxy war between North and South Korea has been popular on Reddit. Yeah, I've seen that. I actually thought it was very funny. And wait, I thought I missed a question somewhere. Where did I saw a question and I forgot what it was, and I was gonna answer it, and ADHD. Gord came in, then the joke being proxy war. What am I missing? There was something that I didn't respond to. What did I not respond to? Will send? What will send? I don't know what I didn't respond to. I was talking about Germany, and then I was talking about Korea. You guys, and I had something that I thought I really, really needed to say in my mind, and then I just, you know what? Oopsie doopsie. Okay. Oh, the Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico, another new dictator in the making, super pro-Russian person. Oh yes, Chad, you're right. A super pro-Russian person who is incredibly Russophilic and just an asshole, has said that he believes Ukraine is not ready to start negotiations on EU accession, but Bratislava will not block this decision at the EU Leaders Summit. Okay, well, at least that. Personally, I don't think Slovakia is ready to be in the EU yet. It's there. Anyways, so Kay Froster had a question. Could you please rewrite that again? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to make you do that, but I forgot what the question was. And hi, Debbie. And I was reminded that you did ask the question, but I just couldn't, I can't. Okay. Um, yes, he has been to Ukraine. No, he's not planning on going to Ukraine on my future trips. And Sini is coming with me to Ukraine. And so actually, there has been an update call, super overdue on Patreon, and I'm going to schedule it for this weekend because there's been a lot of stuff that has changed since we last spoke, and it's not like the type of stuff that I'm comfortable airing for, for absolutely like a large audience, especially when there is like trolls and random people popping in and out that I don't know. So those are like things that I don't necessarily want to put out there. But I will talk about the John traveling to Ukraine and this kind of stuff on the next Patreon catch-up call, which I am planning on scheduling tomorrow for Saturday or Sunday. I just need to look at my schedule and see whether Saturday or Sunday is better. But also, so if you're a YouTube member, if you're a YouTube channel member, or if you are a Patreon patron, these both places get a link to the Zoom call, and usually we do a Zoom call once a month. It's usually at the beginning of the month, but this month has been hectic, so it's going to be now, and then the next one is going to be probably like mid-January, because the beginning of the month is a little, is going to, I'm just going to get to Ukraine and there's going to be a lot going on. So if you are so if you are on Patreon or on YouTube as a subscriber, then you're welcome to join the call, and you're welcome to ask more personal questions. I'm happy to like answer them. I just don't feel like answering super personal questions to a large audience of people because it's, it's like no one needs to know half the stuff that's going on in my life. But yeah, if you're on Patreon, you actually get a lot of like write-ups. And now that I'm actually back on YouTube, I do believe that I'm going to start putting out some write-ups on YouTube as well. But I usually, like on Patreon, I do keep up with all of you by like writing some, I like writing like little tidbits, I think one of the things that I appreciate about the Patreon community is that it's mostly comprised, like it's actually all comprised of people that I do know, that I talk to on lives and like in the comment sections and stuff like that very often. So I feel like I know you, even though like we don't really know each other. And I do write up like some personal updates sometimes and some like thoughts and stuff. I share some like behind the scenes things from my like family when I was in Ukraine, or things like that. You get podcast interviews earlier than anyone else. You also get YouTube interviews earlier than anyone else. You also get like basically anything that's like extra or special or like whatever. Patreon gets it first. On YouTube, I can't really publish like the audio itself, so it's not as easy. But yeah, Patreon calls are usually like a very, Veronica says it's pretty much family meeting. Yes, it is. But so yeah, so if you're on there, then I'm happy to answer all the personal questions. But here, I'm not quite ready yet to talk about like super personal things, like, out in public. Yeah, and one day you'll find out why, I guess. Okay, on Thursday, the Danish government will present a new 1 billion euro aid package for Ukraine, which will include ammunition, tanks, and drones. We are at a critical phase of the war, and we must ensure that Ukraine has everything it needs to continue the fight, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said, or Fredriksen. I literally, like, Danish is one of the languages I cannot emulate or replicate at all, like at all. It's very difficult for me. So these are just some encouraging photographs of the Ukrainian Air Force. You know, we like a palate cleansing experience. Also, Nils, I think it was, one second, there was someone, well, not someone, let me see. I think it was Dave. I think it was actually Dave who was trying to find out who it was who got the memberships last time, because he was one of the High Gord. He was one of the people who received the randomized interview, the randomized membership. And he wanted to thank you, and he didn't know who you were, so I did say that, but I don't know if he's here, and I don't know if you were there when he was here. So anyways, you received a thank you for the membership. Hope you're okay. Could I email you if you ever come to the UK? You're welcome to come and stay. Oh, thank you, Debbie. That's very sweet. And yes, my email is in so on TikTok and Instagram, it's in my link in bio, but on YouTube, I think it's in the description of videos usually, but it's Yulia the same way as it's written on YouTube at borlingon.media. So if you want to message me, that's where you can find me. Yeah. Also, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. I miss the Carpathians so much, but so this is winter in the Carpathian Mountains. And if you have never been to the Carpathians, you know, after Ukraine's victory, you should 100% come stay in the Carpathians for a vacation. It's the most beautiful, magical place. There are skiing and snowboarding resorts, and it's just gorgeous. And I really, really miss it. And I used to go with my friends to celebrate New Year's in the winter. We used to go to like a house a friend of mine's family owned in the Carpathians, like in the summer for a week or so. And it's just gorgeous. Radio Svoboda analyzed a video showcasing Russian soldiers guiding Ukrainian armed forces soldier on the battlefield while simultaneously using them as cover to fire towards Ukrainian positions. As per the Ukrainian defenders who shared the video, this action is labeled as battle reconnaissance aimed at identifying weaponry at the armed forces positions. Ombudsman Libinets commented, if this is verified, it will constitute an officially documented instance of Russian Federation violating the Geneva Convention. Oh, thank you, Chad. Thank you so much. This is the first video of such nature I've encountered. I hadn't been aware of this data before. So there is a video of a here, this is what it looks like. So it's basically a captured Ukrainian soldier, and a Russian soldier is walking them forward towards Ukrainian positions and covering themselves with this Ukrainian soldier from fire in order to get closer and examine what weaponry is present at the positions of the Ukrainian military that he is walking towards. And that's a war crime. Units of the 26th Separate Dnipro Brigade continue to work on building up the defense line and creating fortifications along the entire front lines, regardless of weather conditions. Anthony, where have you been? This app's keeping you off my FYP. So I haven't posted a video in about a week, but I have been live every single evening in between 9:30 p.m. and like 11 p.m. at some point. I do go live. Yes, using a human W as a POW as a human shield. Yes, that's 100% what they do, but this is the documented instance. They do that all the time. They also use civilians as human shields, but we didn't have proof until this video. Where have you been? So I don't know. My engagement has fallen down, and people have told me that they don't see my videos. People don't see my videos on their FYP, but you know, I was told basically that the way to fix this on TikTok is like a couple of times a day, search up my name as a creator and like go watch a video or something and just like leave it going, and do that a couple of times, and then TikTok algorithm is going to think that you are very interested in my content, and it might start bringing it back to your FYP. That's kind of like the trick. But yeah, there is Ukrainian accounts right now are being drowned out by other things that are going on for sure. And the reason why there is such an outcry for instance, right now for the Palestinian cause, but not a Ukrainian cause, is well, so a lot of the people that are advocating for Palestine on social media are Gen Z. And Gen Z use the internet the most out of all of us. So it does look like there is a lot more outreach for Palestine than there was for Ukraine. But also, you need to think that it's not only just Gen Z, it's also a lot of different Arabic nations. And there are a lot of different Arabic nations in the world, and people who speak Arabic and who can like read the news in Arabic and stuff like that. There are a lot more of them than there are Ukrainians. So initially the push with this is vastly larger. And there are a lot more people, for instance, that are like personally invested into what's going on in Palestine than there were initially with what's going on in Ukraine. But so yeah, that's just that's kind of like, that's just sort of like what my impression. But I don't think that it's, you know, I mean, listen, TikTok TikTok is, you know, is a terrible place, and there is, sorry, I love TikTok. TikTok is an interesting place, and there is a lot going on there. So, you know, it's hard to tell why certain stuff is being pushed and why certain stuff isn't. But I will definitely, you know, I will say there is definitely not, it's definitely not without that. But I think that it's more like natural causes than it is. As someone who is a UX designer, I'll tell you, it's not likely to be deliberate. It's much more likely to be circumstantial. In 2024, the Swiss company Global Clearance Solutions aims to elevate the quantity of unmanned demining machines supplied to Ukraine to 70 units. The company intends to progressively augment the number, starting with 25 machines in the last quarter of 2023, followed by an increase to 40 in the spring of 2024. Ultimately reaching 70 units by mid-2024. So thank you, Swiss. So that's Switzerland. Wow, thank you. That's very cool. Great Britain, where the Interflex operation is being conducted to train the Ukrainian military, is making significant efforts to ensure that the training facilities and grounds are as realistic as possible. That's actually very, very cool. So this is kind of like what the training grounds are set up to look like. So it resembles Ukrainian landscapes. That's very, very cool that they're making it really, really realistic. So yeah, and that is all I have for you for tonight. I realized I'm gonna go look for, like, I need to start packing because I need to start figuring out what it is that I'm gonna be taking with me. Oh, Hack Attack. So first of all, sorry. So I haven't been in this live in a while. Well, welcome back. So there is also a hack attack that Ukrainians did in response to the Russian hack attack. So first of all, the Russian hack attack didn't only spread onto Kyivstar, which is finally getting back to business, but also there is Kyivstar might not be able to fully renew its network because most of its IT structure has been like demolished by the hack attack. And also Monobank was attacked and a series of other banks in Ukraine, which actually might explain why they were doing all of these checks with me. Oh, thank you. And yeah, cleared all configuration files. Yes, they did. They did a lot of stuff. Oh, Juju, thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. And then Ukraine attacked. Why am I blanking? Jason, please help me here. Ukraine did a hack attack back, and as you know, Ukrainian hackers are actually much more savvy than Russian. I would say Russia just has a lot more resources, and Ukrainians hacked into the Russian tax office. So yeah, tax offices, which tax offices have names and personal data of a lot of important Russian people, and also of a lot of companies that are still doing business in Russia. I just PayPal someone in Ukraine. Would that likely be affected by hacking? Nope. No, it wouldn't. How much support is Russia getting from North Korea? Not enough. North Korea is not really powerful enough to give Russia enough support for it to be like threatening. Okay. Alrighty. They changed the BIOS and rebooted the machines. Yeah, and definitely stole data, which is fantastic. Okay, so I do gotta go. I have to start packing actually this week, and I need to start seeing like I'm like scared of how expensive this is going to be, because going to Ukraine for 3 months while like being in Ukraine is not really going to be expensive, but like I need to get like deodorant and like toothpaste and like all of these things. Well, I mean, like certain things that I use that are not available in Ukraine, and like all of these random things and cine stuff and all of this. And I just like really need to, sit down and start packing to see what I have and what I don't have, and then like compile a list of things that I need to get. I also still have to get a Christmas present for my mom. And like my budget this year is so tight. I also need to get a Christmas present for my grandfather, and I need to get a Christmas present for a friend of mine. I already have a Christmas present for my dad, and oh my gosh, so my mom, my grandpa, and Anastasia. And boy, am I like, just overwhelmed, because all of this is just so costly. So costly. Anyways, okay. Good night, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the hand hearts, Chad, and thank you, everyone on YouTube and everywhere, really. Alrighty. Bye. Wait, which one? So this. Thank you. And bye, guys. I'll see you tomorrow at around the same time-ish, like 9:30-ish. Bye. Oh, well, we love Australia too, just not the spiders, just not Sydney, just not spiders, just not snakes, just not those things, just... yeah. Okay, bye. Bye, guys.